everybody, Dark Ascension tuning in, and we have a super long video today. I really do apologize, but this video is going to cover a lot of stuff between killer and survivor, and it's mostly about killers. I only have one thing to nitpick on when it comes to survivors, but we're going to get into that in a little bit. Guys, killers, you have to know exactly how to milk your game sessions. And this is what I mean. When you're playing killer and let's say you down 2-3 survivors and you're in a chase, you have to milk the game session. Milk it really hard because you need your points. If all the survivors die at the very beginning of the game before the game even has a chance to start, you don't get your pips, you don't get the pip up, you don't get many points, and neither do any of the survivors. So you got to learn how to milk that stuff, you know what I mean? And don't worry, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. The way to play killer, and it's all based around a perk actually. A perk actually explains how you should play killer, and the name of the perk is called Devour Hope. So let's go over that perk together and actually get into the video. So Hex Devour Hope, it's basically you giving survivors, and that's what that perk explains itself. You can read it, I'm not going to read it for you, but the perk basically tells you, that you have to give survivors hope for escape. Let them think that they're going to escape. Let them think that they have a chance, and then just as quickly take it away. You know what I mean? You got to milk your stuff. So let's get into the build. Bloodhound, I can see blood brighter. Monitor and abuse reduces my terror radius. Hex ruin slows the game down. And nurse's calling, I see people when they are hearing. My add-ons is Katsumiri talisman. I basically get a longer part of my ability or extend my ability. And then father's glasses to see blood while I am phasing. We're going to take these survivors to Macmillan. Let's get into this. So I take a look at my surroundings first, and I notice that there's not going to be anybody on this generator next to me. So what I do is I use my ability as spirit to phase and cover more ground. I know that there's a survivor in between these generators, as well as a generator over here that was farthest from my spawn point, but I decide that I'm not going to take it. Now this is the perfect example of a killer who doesn't decide that they're going to just milk the game session. I want you killers to know that I did this purposefully to show you what happens when you destroy a team of survivors before they get a chance to play the game, and how dramatically that costs and affects you in terms of the ranking system and blood points. So of course now I can see her blood bright. I shouldn't really be losing sight of her, but I know that she double backed. So here I decide to play dumb and wait till she gets comfortable, and then I play a mind game with her. You see, because I see her heading towards the killer shack. At this point, she doesn't see my red stain and my terror radius is small, so she doesn't know where I'm coming from. And just like that, I got the first survivor down instantly. This is a great start to pressuring survivors, though. This is a good start to pressuring survivors by getting a basement hook. A basement hook is the biggest pressure on survivors, no matter what point of the game you're in, unless there's just one generator left or no generators left and the exit gates are open. So right now there's 4 generators. I heard Meg running behind me, so I decided to grab her. Might as well throw down the pallet because I'm going to swing through if I don't. Make sure that nobody comes into the killer shack, and then I use my ability to track Meg. Now Meg is playing very obvious by going to another pallet, so she doesn't have enough time to recover. Now she's down. So I'm going to pick Meg up, I'm going to put her on the hook. The first place that I should go to is somewhere on the other side of the map, if I'm the type of killer that milks my game sessions. But this game, I'm not about to do that. I'm going to head back to the killer shack knowing that they're going for a save. I see faint scratch marks. There's only one place that a survivor down here could be, and that's a locker. So now he's on the hook. The last survivor just popped off a generator, meaning that they're going to be heading for the most obvious save, knowing where I'm at. Since that survivor knows that I'm in the basement, they're going to be heading for the hook survivor that's outside the basement, because it's their safest option. This is optimal. This is actually a smart decision on her part. I decide not to tunnel Meg because, again, I want to get all survivors injured and put them on some very, very thin ice when it comes to pressure. I see Meg healing, so what I do is I turn around and act like I want to phase to the basement, when in fact I'm phasing to her location. And just like that, the entire game session is ended. Very easy. 1, 2, 3, game over. And this is for a lot of you killers that are either really good at the game or just playing really strong killers that survivors don't know how to counter. You have to know how to milk your game session, milk your points, get more out of your game session. You know, I know that you don't want to give survivors a chance to escape, and I know that you don't want to give them a chance at winning the game session over you, but if you destroy a team of survivors so early in the game, it dramatically affects you. I knew she had Unbreakable, so I was just going to bait it out. Most survivors in these ranks, they run Unbreakable, which is a perk that says when a survivor is in the dying state, they basically get a free chance to pick themselves up. You see what I mean? Like, look, she's on her first hook. Those 2 survivors in the basement died on their first hook. The only survivor that died on their second hook was the other Meg that's on the far hook. And just like always, in these type of situations, you want to wait to see if a survivor is going to Kobe off of the hook. That way you can go back for them immediately. This is not optimal. This is not efficient. You know, you can use some type of argument like different play styles, different people, but this is going to affect your points and your ranking, and you're not going to be happy or satisfied with what you get. I just got a free 4K, but I didn't break any pallets. I didn't hook survivors multiple times. Nothing. So at the end of the day, I got nothing. I got a safety pip. That's what I got. So now let's try a game session where I milk my points and extend the game session. Same exact build, same exact map. I take a look at my surroundings, and then I decide to phase to the furthest location away from me, because a survivor is more than likely to spawn in that area. I thought I heard breathing at some point, but that survivor probably urban evaded themselves out of the area. So kind of a bummer on that one. But I do hear a generator being completed in here. Scratch marks say that the survivor isn't outside of this area. And since my terror radius is hovering pretty small over this area, the survivor has to be in 2 places, the locker or my basement. So let's go to the basement and actually check after I kick this generator. Make sure there's no extra survivors around here. And then let's check the basement. And just like that, we find a survivor in the basement. So let's try and extend this out a little bit. We want to get her down very fast. That was an easy mind game. She didn't know where I was going and she heard me phasing. Remember what I said, guys. Basement hooks are extremely important because they put pressure on the survivors. So with this early basement hook, I have a lot of pressure. Even though no one else in the game session is injured, no one else in the game session is hooked except for that one Meg player. So this generator, I knew that there was somebody on it because, again, scratch marks. So I'm going to try to play a little mind game here with Meg. Phase to her. And I hear somebody behind me going in my basement. So I decide to let Meg go. I hit her and then let her go. These hits should be hitting, but it's whatever. We're going to slug the Meg that just came off of the hook. We don't want to pick her up yet. I'm afraid that she might have D-strike. And we're going to take all the free hits that we can here. Look at the perfect execution of pressure right here in these situations. And these survivors, both of them, they made the mistake of running directly to the basement. Both of them did. When they could have just as easily let one run to the basement and another one stayed on the generator. but they're not thinking about efficiency. You know what I mean? Me as a killer, I'm thinking about how efficient the situation is for me and how I can benefit out of it the most. So I leave the other Meg slugged. I'm not going to pick her up or hook her, and I'm going to go for this Meg. Let's play a mind game at this pallet. She's not going to run back, so let's try to counter her. We're going to extend this chase out just a little bit. I don't want to down this Meg too early. I do want them to unhook the person that's in the basement and heal up a little bit. Again, you got to milk your game sessions. Milk out those points. Because I could have ended this game. For anyone who doesn't believe me, you can rewind the video clip when it uploads. I could have ended this game at the basement by slugging everybody. But I want to milk my points. So I'm going to let her get away on purpose. And then I'm going to go for the survivor's healing. I want to keep on slugging at least one survivor because it keeps pressure on the survivors. It keeps a lot of pressure on the survivors. Nobody's on my totem, but I do know that there is another survivor in this area. 2 of the survivors are healing. 1 of the survivors is looking to get to the downed Meg, and I'm going to leave her down. I'm going to slug her. She's going to be slugged for a while until I decide that I want to snowball. Because at this point in the game, I can snowball whenever I want. Right now, this is just straight up raw pressure. But you'll see what I mean when I say I'm going to snowball. Since I can't find anybody else, I'm going to just pick her up and hook her. She should be on her second hook, I believe. We'll see. Yep, she's on her second hook. Okay, so the reason why I look at Meg and look at the hook as if I'm there is because there's a survivor in the locker, by the way. That was kind of easy to figure out. There's no scratch marks leading away from this area, so that could have only meant that she was in a locker or that somebody was in a locker. But if you notice, whenever I phase a spirit, I look in a different direction and then I phase in the opposite direction. When you're playing against a survivor with friends, or a group of survivors, you could be playing against 2 survivor friends, 1 survivor, or 3 survivor friends, however many. You generally don't want them to alert other survivors of the direction that you're going in. You don't want them to know what specifically direction they're going in. Most survivor friends, when they see a spirit phase, they're like, she's phasing in the direction that she's looking in. So what I do differently here is I think as a survivor and I try to counterplay that by saying, I'm going to look in a different direction and then phase in the direction opposite of where I'm looking. Really good strategy. I know that he's around here, but I'm going to go straight towards the hook because that generator was completed close to the hook. Told you so. Instead of tunneling Meg, I'm going to go for... I don't know why I whiffed that. I wasn't trying to. I'm going to go for the Claudette. She's going to run for the Killer Shack loop, but there's no pallet. That's an obvious lie. She probably thought that she could gimmick her way past me, but I already knew that she was hiding behind the wall in the middle of the chase. That was not the smartest idea on her part. That right there was a mistake on her part, trying to loot. And I want you to know, like, exactly what I'm doing. I'm looking in one direction, going in the opposite. Looking in one direction, going in the opposite. But I do remember Meg in this direction. Knowing that Meg came to this direction when I initially went to start the chase with Claudette, I knew that Meg would still be over here. And because they got 3 generators completed, it's about time that I kill a survivor. So we're going to hurry up and try and get Meg out the way. Because shouldn't she be on her 3rd hook, I believe? I don't know. I know one of the Megs is on their 3rd hook. I just can't remember which one. Okay, yeah, so it's the other Meg that's on her 3rd hook. You see what I mean? Like, we're getting multiple hooks. We're getting a lot of pressure. You just wasted a pallet. Now, what I like about this David player is that he decided to play smart. See, because what he was initially going to do was see if I was a dumb killer by throwing down the pallet and pallet stunning me and then going for a save. But immediately upon hearing me phasing, he knew had he went for the save, I would have ripped him off of the hook. So right now what he's trying to do is create a distraction. Really smart on David's part. That was a really smart play. But now I want to get one of those D strikes out the way, and I got a feeling that this is the Meg player that was that had D strike, because she's playing as if she doesn't care, especially since she has dead hard. So I know she has D strike. Let's go ahead and get that out the way right now. Yep, there we go. All right. She's camping the pallet. Had she not camped the pallet, I wouldn't have went for her, but because she was camping the pallet, waiting to pallet stun me, I'm just like, yeah, let's get another kill out the way. This back hook right here, when the map spawns like this, doesn't matter because there's no doors, there's no exit gates near, there's no nothing. So it's safe to hook her right there, knowing that I have a third hook still in that area. I know that there's a survivor on this generator for a fact, because there was no survivors on the generator aside from the Meg when I chased her away from that initial generator on the other side of the building. And there wouldn't be anybody on the generator in mid because I've been chasing around the area of mid. And because I just hooked Meg near the generator by the killer shack, there couldn't be anybody near that generator. So I want you guys to remember that generator that I just checked back there, because I'm keeping it in the back of my mind, and I want you to watch. We're going to play a mind game here with Meg. She's afraid. See, right there, that was a mind game. She was hoping that I would go around the pallet and not phase. That way she could run into the pallet and then pallet slam or pallet stun me in the middle of phasing. We're going to knock down this pallet for some destruction points and also kick this generator. See, right now we're milking our points perfectly. We're coming around this side to approach this generator because if we chase this survivor off of this generator, he won't have anywhere to go. If I came around the other direction, he would still have a jungle gym and another whole loop and a T-wall, L-wall, and the main building to loop me around until he found out where Hatch was. So it's really good that I chase him around this part of the map where there's only one pallet left. He's gonna double back. I felt him bump into me, but I guess I was either a little bit too late or he dead-hearted. I'm gonna play this mind game. He ran away from the pallet. It was smart to run away from the pallet when you don't know Spirit is phasing or playing a mind game with you. Run away from the pallet and try to create some distance. So he did really smart by doing that. Had he stayed near, I would have phased and done the same thing that I did to the other Meg. Like this David player right here, he knows his mind games. He's looping very efficiently and he's not being greedy. That's the one thing that he's not doing. He's not being greedy. He's gonna... Oh, I thought... Yeah, he did double back. I felt it. I hear the hatch. I think... Yeah, he thinks that the hatch is in the jungle gym, but I heard it to my left. See, now that... You see, now this was the smartest play right here. He has nowhere to go. We're in the middle of a chase. I closed the hatch in the middle of a chase. This is a guaranteed kill because he has nowhere to go. There's no pallet. There's no killer shack pallet, so he can't use that as his loop. There's no pallets in the center because the other Megs already ran through those and wasted those. He has nowhere to go. So what he's going to do is he's going to try to milk this L-wall, T-wall loop for as many points as he can get. That's all he really can do at this point. But I win. Oh, this is a slow wall. You wasn't going to make that. And you see, guys, that's what I mean. Just by milking out the game session and playing with the survivors and just giving them points and letting them play the game, I just double picked. I know for a fact that that was a double pip because I hooked 2 people, I think 3 times. No, I think I hooked everybody 3 times, except for David. David died on second hook, and I think Claudette died on her second hook. I'm not sure. But by perfectly milking the game session, I just got a double pip and a lot of points. If you found this video helpful, like the video. If you like the content on my channel, then hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you guys later.